45
That's
seconds.
all I need to know.
Okay. Let me do some
And
math.
this-
Let me do some figure on that myself too.
Yeah. How many?
Because I can do,
How many tanks you think it'd take to get 20 acres? And
yeah.
All right, we got 10 seconds.
then they got to be precision point agriculture now. Well, just kidding.
I can't run a straight line.
Yeah, if you mess up, I'm not calling you back. Calling you back. How's that?
Hello, everybody. I'm Anthony Landreth.
I'm Bubba Spencer.
And I'm Keith Haywood.
Hey, we want to welcome y'all to another Tennessee Outside Show coming to you live from the Dr. R.E. Wilhite building right here at the Hardeman County Agribusiness Center. And as we always say, if you hunt fish in Tennessee, this is a show you need to watch. Tonight we're going to go over the final Tennessee turkey harvest numbers, and Bubba, I think it's pretty much in line with what you and I predicted.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Keith, you got your first one this year,
I
so,
did.
so you're in the tally.
Well, he got one. I was in on 2 kills. You were in on
Yeah. Well, I was in on 6 total.
six total
Yeah.
kills.
Sure
So
was.
We had
I mean, it's
pretty
not
good-
too bad.
And the thing about it, I really only went 2 times.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Well, I didn't go a whole lot myself. Hey, we will be taking questions tonight, and not only going to be going over all the final turkey harvest numbers, but I got the WMA numbers where a lot of people ask me about them, like, hey, what's a good one to put in for, when they do the quota hunts and everything. And so we're going to try to, well, I know I got the top 5 of them, and of course, we talked about in the pre-show some pretty interesting numbers on them.
Yeah.
And really on all of them, it's not but it's kind of like we thought it would be, to tell you the truth. But
we'll make some predictions for next year.
yeah, we sure will. Hey, we just want to give a shout out to our sponsors real quick, though. But like I say, Janet will be taking questions, and we're trying to get together for another giveaway. And I'll go ahead and say right now, Billy Bates, with crappie jigs and stuff, he's going to send us some stuff to give away, too.
Awesome.
That's great.
All right.
Yes, she can hear us okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to, our sponsors, here we go. Apex Outdoor Rewards, that's our premier sponsor. We have Deception Scents, Baker Glass Shop, Second Amendment Outdoors, Big Hill Pond Boat Sales and Repair, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, Lynnhurst Family Resort, Prym1 Camo, Threeway Processing, Wildlife Addiction Food Plot Services, and as always, a shout out to Brian Harvard and the Crappie Addicts Facebook page.
And I noticed they got a store down there who's posted about some new nets and got a bunch of good jerseys down there. That is for sure. Hey, give a shout out too to the Facebook groups that allows share the show to their page. And the first one's Tennessee Deer Hunters, and I mention it every week. We're all so glad it got started back up because that's over 70,000 people. Yeah. And if anybody's watching the show that wants to join that group, you've got to answer the questions if you want to join, because if you don't answer them, you are automatically declined, and it's only 2 questions you got to answer on that. But and that's one of the shows we go live to, one of the sites. So we go live to about 100,000 people, and when you add all these others, we have a potential viewership around 1.5 million. So
a lot of folks.
Yeah, it is. But we got Tennessee Deer Hunters, West Teagan Deer Hunters, Tennessee Woods and Waters, Tennessee Turkey Hunters, Tennessee Bow Hunters, Tennessee Valley Sportsmen, Real West Tennessee Sportsmen, East Tennessee Deer Hunters, Tennessee Rivers and Lakes, Bow Hunters of America, our biggest group, over 230,000, Southern Boys 870, True Hunters and Anglers, Hunting for Connection, Tennessee Outdoor Info, Tennessee Hunting and Fishing Report, Hunt Swaps of America, TN Outdoors and Hunting, Tennessee Small Game Hunting and Fishing, Middle Tennessee Coyote Hunters.
All right, we have Kentucky Whitetail Hunters. We have West Kentucky Deer Hunters, Do a Country Jig, Pickwick Lake Anglers, Crappie Cats, Bass and More, Gamekeepers and Food Plots, Pickwick Lake Fishing Reports, Turkey South, Backwood Hunting and Fishing, Wildlife Hunter Association, Wildlife Snipers, Feathers and Furs, Camel Thug Outdoors, Blumpville Tennessee Deer Hunters, Back to the Roots Outdoors, Down to Earth Hunting, Tennessee Turkey Hunters, and the Hatchie River Fishing Bank Pole Group.
All right, you got it. Hey, I guess one thing we want to talk about right now is, we just come off a holiday weekend, and we talk about it. We talk about it every week, this time of year. But, we always say that probably there's a good chance some of the folks that's watching us won't be around when we come back on after that. And sadly, there was a fatality over the holidays this weekend. Looks like on Percy Priest Lake, The only detail that I know that I've been told
It was on Saturday.
yeah, and is that the boat was anchored, and somebody entered the water from an anchored boat, and all I know there was a fatality. I don't know.
No,
You hadn't heard anything
I
else
don't
either,
know
have you?
anything at all.
Be a multitude of things.
It could, because
Yeah.
the first thing when we was in pre-show, I just wonder if it was anchored and somebody dove off,
Yeah.
and it may, because I've done that before. Luckily, I got stuck in the mud,
Yeah.
and but at least in Middle Tennessee, you don't have a lot of mud. It's mostly rocks up that part, and I mean it could go bad real quick that way, and also. BUI, boating under the influence, which, Bubba, I know what we're fixing to talk about. I mean, anybody in Tennessee, if you didn't see a big law enforcement presence on the road, it was the same way on the waterways, wasn't it?
All the water, everybody was.
Probably pretty much every officer working
yeah.
is assigned somewhere. I think that's the way it was law enforcement, because
I didn't know they had that many troopers in the state.
well, I tell you, it was like 11 of them from my mailbox to Threeway Grocery the other day.
Really?
And you got troopers, sheriff's department,
Yeah. Well, of course, we saw them. We were on the water Saturday and Sunday, and of course, we saw TWRA quite often.
Yep.
Patrolling and looking, and
Yep.
saw blue lights a few times on a few people.
We saw a bunch of blue lights. But there were 14 BUI arrests in the state, and that's down from last year, though. Last year it was 25, and last year, Memorial Day weekend, it was 2 fatalities. This year we had 1, but 14 BUIs. I mean, it was only 1 in West Tennessee, though. Of course, I mean, y'all was pretty much hammered at Pickwick Lake and Kentucky Lake. Was probably the majority of places.
Majority of, but Barkley. Then we also, we have a lot of state lakes, and we a lot of guys on just our state lakes.
That's right. I forgot about the state lakes.
We also have, Hatchie and O'Brien and some of the.
Yep.
Then we,
and things can go bad quick on the Hatchie and O'Brien and stuff like that, especially the Hatchie.
And the Mississippi, it's not a big recreational body of water, but there is a amount of. So
and the bad thing about if there's a mishap on the Mississippi River, it can go bad.
Oh, it can go
very quick.
So,
well, Bubba, tell us some of the stuff that
man, I was telling them in the pre-show. I'm telling you how every officer, pretty much in the state of Tennessee, what they do when they get out there. So we're going to get out there and we're going to get a pair of binoculars. And the first thing we're going to do when we see the boat is just watch the boat to see how it's operating.
And when you're doing that, you're basically looking to see if it's drinking involved.
Well, drinking involved, how it's moving, if it's erratic, if it's trying to spray somebody, or seeing if they're doing something overly.
And I'm sure you're looking at
egregious.
Kids too, the youngsters.
And so as we're looking at them with binoculars, we look for the kids to see if they have their life jackets on, if they're young kids. We look to see if we see anybody consuming alcohol. And then we look for the boat registration sticker and how the numbers are displayed. And if any of the above gives us reason to suspect
that's your probable cause right
then
there.
We go in and stop.
Yeah.
And then if we stop a boat, let's give 2 scenarios. One, let's say we have no suspecting of alcohol. We're going to ask for registration. We're going to ask to see a wearable life jacket for everyone on board, a throw cushion if required, and a fire extinguisher if required. And that's it. And then if there's drinking involved, then at that point we will determine if we think more testing is needed to go on.
Well, is it like, like when I work in law enforcement too, like, if we have probable cause to go in the house, anything we see with our own eyes right there, if it's, like weed or something like that. I mean, it's the same way when y'all go on a boat like that.
Yeah, once we, and usually before we stop a boat, they
didn't try to hide it.
There's been some sort of rules of the water violation or violation that we observed, whether it be a youth that appeared to be 12 or under without a life jacket.
Yeah, and that was what I was.
Well, most people, there's rules of the water that they have to follow, and then there's a giveaway boat and most people never follow it.
Yeah.
And so there's always.
So what's the law on a child with a life jacket? Just for anybody out there that's not unsure.
A child 12 and under has to have a wearable life jacket on anytime the boat is underway.
Okay, when you say underway, that means even if they're floating.
Even if they're floating, the only time exception is if they're anchored or moored to the land.
So if they're anchored and that boat stopped like that, or they don't.
Yeah, and you know.
Do you see a lot of that, Bubba?
Oh God, yeah.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Only
just constant.
Gosh,
Constant.
and that's sad.
Constant.
I mean, that's sad.
Constant. Yeah.
What about like
And then we see stuff with like kids with floaties on, or you know, it has to be Coast Guard approved.
Right.
Floaties at Walmart that
Mickey Mouse
if
floaties.
you
They're
get in a
not
wreck,
approved.
Yeah.
you know, they're not going to save the kid by keeping his head up. It's
Right.
going to float. He might float face right in the water. You know, it's just.
what about
constant.
what's the rules on like just what y'all see like I mean every waterway in Tennessee right now is got all kind of jet skis and
Yeah.
stuff on them.
Yeah.
So what's kind of the rules before y'all? What you would consider maybe reckless or
Reckless. Jumping too close behind another boat, and or spraying.
because some of those laws just went in
Yes.
effect
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Or spraying. But the problem we have with jet skis is, man, they turn on a dime so much, and so many times we get somebody following them,
And they don't realize
and they
it.
turn, and man, the person behind them
Right.
is
They could either T-bone them or wreck.
yes,
Just basically from the
yes.
waves.
I mean, I was telling Keith while I was down around Mousetail mostly, and man, it's tight, it's constricted under there. Man, people pulling, people with skiers, somebody falls, they turn to go back. There's a jet ski.
I make my kids, if they fall, hands are up. We do hands up.
Just,
Whatever we can do
Yeah.
to show ourselves in that water before I can get back to them.
man, I tell you what, just
Our biggest problem on the water all weekend, I try to treat the river as a highway.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
And there were so many people on the wrong side of the highway. I mean, zigzagging,
Oh, just
trying to swap sides to keep. Cause I mean, you would have 5 or 6 boats coming both directions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
on
Oh,
both
yeah.
sides of the river coming at you, and that gets a little aggravating.
Well, I mean, I'm just glad it was only. I mean, I hate it was one fatality, but man, the potential is there.
every day that I'm out there, I'm always amazed that we don't have more. Honestly,
That's what I'm saying.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm amazed.
yeah.
I just
And
just people that don't realize how quick things can go bad. They never see the potential of until it's too late.
Yep.
Because they got away with this week, they'll try it, and then just sooner or later something bad's going to happen to them.
And the bad thing when it happens, just like
Jeez.
last year we talked about the guy that what's he ended up serving 6 or 8 years in pen.
Yeah.
In a prison for that. And I mean, and I know nobody thinks about going out for the holiday weekend, and nobody thinks about, man, I may end up in prison, or dead.
The one thing that I did see that I probably saw less drinking than I've seen in a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was only one BUI in West Tennessee.
I probably saw less drinking. But you have 2 beers, 3 beers. Next thing you know, you're in a boating accident. You're getting blood drawn.
Yeah.
And man, you're over .08, and man, your life has changed.
And I'm telling you,
that quick.
3 beers will put
3
you
beers
over
quick.
.08 in a heartbeat.
You can. And
2
it might
beers
might
could-
not even be your fault.
Yeah.
And you're in a boating accident. You get your blood drawn, and man, next thing you know, your life has changed.
How is that? But if you're in a boating accident with 2 boats, is it the driver of both boats get
Yes.
blood alcohol
Yes.
test, right?
Yes.
That's just the standard.
Standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty much like that on the highway, I mean, because basically, if your blood alcohol is above that and you're considered drunk, I mean, you're not supposed to be on the highway whether you're the one that caused the wreck or not.
And I guess it's just today's society. It's not just alcohol that we have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is a ton of prescription drugs. There's a ton of antidepressant, anxiety drugs, marijuana, and we're mixing all these
Yeah,
drugs
yeah,
with
combining
alcohol.
all of it.
And then,
And then, but the
when you
water,
combine
will
and then the
kind
water.
of it will increase that lack of awareness by
Yes.
itself.
There's no telling how many near misses happen, or
there's just-
accidents with injuries that we don't even hear about.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Or minor
pretty much if it's, maybe minor.
Yeah.
But I do know it was 2 property damage issues on waterways up in the Cumberland Plateau.
You know, a lot of those can be the wake issues, or just be two boats hitting.
Right. Yeah, it sure could. It sure could. Well, all right, Memorial Day, we're past it now, but of course, a lot of folks may not know it, but Governor Lee signed several new water laws, that's going to affect July the 1st.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to get somebody on the show to talk about those.
Some of them, yeah.
And
then just generally, our BUI and our DUI are going to be essentially the same, one and not the same.
So
and they both go back and forth with one another.
And it's kind of like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but like BUI on the waterways, depending on how many you got, it's going to be added right to whatever you got on the highway.
Yes. Or vice versa.
Yes.
Wow. Or vice versa.
And as some people that don't know, I mean, the more offenses you got, the more time you spend in jail, the more it's going to cost.
And I try to tell people, if you ever get a BUI or a DUI, the odds of you ever getting a job with a company truck or a company vehicle are just about zero.
That's right.
Because there is not and 3 beers on the water is not worth throwing your career away of not being able to get a job. Because
because what company would hire you for the liability issues?
They're just not going to hire you. It's going to 3 beers could affect you so tragically for the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life.
I'm like, man, it is not worth it. It is not worth it.
Yeah. Wait till you get off the water.
Wait till you get off the water, man. It's just as simple as that.
But what about because I know, but for some of our viewers out there, so say you pull over a pontoon boat,
okay,
and the driver is impaired,
okay,
all right, but you got 6 other people on there that they can't drive the boat because they're drunk too.
Yeah, one of us would drive it.
Okay, but do you arrest them for public intoxication or what do you do?
Not unless they're being belligerent, Usually.
So it kind of goes back to use common sense. If you get pulled over, don't get cocky with the cop.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to
that never helps.
Or
if you had a older teenager or something that is very capable of operating a boat, if they don't have a boater's license, you still let them.
Yeah. So it's so much more difficult on the water to do something than it is for a trooper to do it on land.
Right.
I mean, it's just so much more because, man, we've been in situations where boats are moving. We've got to get this boat moving. We're going to,
Yeah.
And then, we've been there where maybe everybody in the boat doesn't feel comfortable doing it. Maybe he doesn't want anybody to do it. Then we can either tow it ourselves or another officer could get in to move it.
But if it is somebody on the boat that is totally sober, and even if you arrest the driver,
if the driver
agrees to let that person take the boat.
We have done that.
Because I know when I would arrest people for DWI, if it was somebody that could drive the vehicle,
but we have to have signatures on all that.
Okay.
And today's world,
Yeah, because I know used to
most everything on the water is being recorded.
Yeah. Talking about video recorded.
Yeah. So very rarely is there. If it's not being video recorded, the video is messed up or something. Okay.
And that's pretty much every stop throughout the whole state now.
Pretty much on all the big water, and it will become common. Almost, it will become. We'll get in body cameras where it will come.
And that's sad though. At the end of the day, really, because you have to prove.
Yeah.
You have to prove you're doing your job properly.
Oh yeah.
That's
But then again.
But it could be.
But then again, just if it ever comes down to it, it's a lot easier to see it.
Yeah.
Than somebody to narrate what happened.
Yeah.
So, I get that.
It sure is. And plus, too, with just the sheer number of people enjoying the waterways now. I tell you, up around Nashville.
Oh,
I
can just imagine what it is up there.
Yeah, we filmed a TV show on Percy Priest Lake. Brandon and I fished till 3 o'clock.
I can imagine.
And it was just as many people at the ramp at 3 o'clock in the morning that had been there all night as it was during the daytime.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Let's just go back one more time. If you're going to the water, make sure your registration is good. Mm-hmm. Make sure that your numbers on your boat are correct.
Because technically, y'all they could be issued a citation, even though that's registered because their numbers does not match really what that decal
and,
says.
And the numbers, it's very specific on how they do it. It's supposed to be in block letters. They're not supposed to be in curves.
It tells you how big they got to be a certain height.
It tells everything about how your boat number should be. If you have your sticker, your boat number. You have life jackets wearable for each person. And that being said, if you have an 80-pound kid, that's not an adult life jacket. You have to have appropriate size. Approved life jacket for everybody. Infant would be different.
And that goes vice versa. If you got three, kid life jackets on there, but everybody weighs 250 pounds.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I like pulling up to the pontoons that has 20 life jackets. They got 5 different kids. They got 20.
You need to come check mine then.
Yeah,
that's
if
what we
you
are.
have all your life jackets for every different size of people that's on the boat, have a throw cushion, and have a fire extinguisher that is workable. Workable fire extinguisher. You've got to look at it if it has a gauge or a plunger.
That's right.
And if you have those, you make good decisions on the water, you should be fine.
All right, but what if you pull up to a boat and say it's 5 people in there, and you see 4 of them drinking, or you see beer cans or coolers and stuff? What's kind of your protocol at that point? Just curious.
Protocol just to see if usually he's going to probably get tested in a day's world, the driver.
Okay.
If we have any suspicion.
So y'all carry the meters with you?
No, we're not going to do. We're going to do.
Oh, just a field sobriety test,
field
basically.
sobriety test.
I got you. And if they fail that, then they go down and get the test.
Yeah. Then we have to take them to jail. So, man, once again, if you're a drug-free, alcohol-free boat, it's the safest boat to be on. Then you don't have to worry about getting in trouble. You don't have to worry about.
All right, let's talk about the lookout laws for people that skis and pull inner tubes and stuff. Let's go over that, because I know somebody that got a ticket last year and they said, "Well, I didn't know that." So I mean, really though, if you're going to be in a boat, you need to research what the laws are, because if you don't have a clue.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just going out there getting on the water.
Yeah.
So let's go over what the lookout rules are.
And so if you're towing a skier
Or inner tube.
or inner tube or any type of towing somebody on one of the many methods that you can do nowadays, you have to have a mirror or a observer over 21 looking.
Okay. So even if it's just one person in the boat and they got a mirror up there, that's legal.
That's legal.
Okay.
And the mirror's got to meet certain dimensions wide, but
But if they don't have a mirror, then the spotter pretty much has to be how?
over 21.
Over 21. Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you, on the jet skis, the mirrors are so small. If I'm pulling in the kids,
And the one good thing about a jet ski, a lot of times I've seen people turn around, the spotter just be turned around, riding backwards on a jet ski, which is even, because so many times in a boat, they may or may not. If there's a mama watching, she usually watches the kid. Mama's watching.
My wife is sitting facing that way.
Facing that way.
Yeah.
If she thinks they're gonna fall, hey, she's hollering at me.
Yeah, and so it's better if the driver is looking forward and to the sides, and the observer is looking back.
Yeah. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the fatalities earlier this year was a lady at Percy Priest that got run over on a kayak.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's what I was told. I think she was like laying out, but she was on a kayak.
And another thing is so many times is when that skier falls and then they make the move to go get it is where things wrecks seem to happen a lot.
And especially too, if it's a lot of boats on the water and that skier falls off, and say it's a real bad, a lot of waves. Even if it's no wind, you put that many boats on the water, it's going to be a lot of waves.
And I've been the guy driving and the kid back there, and you want to get the big waves, and you drive a little.
Yeah.
So you just need to be cognizant. Don't overdo things, especially in heavily congested waters.
Yeah.
And that's our biggest thing is we try to get away. We try to find. We know where the busy areas are. Where most of your marina entrances, and where most of your beach hangouts are. And that's going to be your highly populated most of the boats. So we just kind of have 3 or 4 places that we know we go. where it's
Little
just-
out of the way places.
yeah, it's
try-
wider and it's just
Yeah.
a little easier to navigate. Because watching other boats is the key. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's almost like you more like defensive driving, really.
But and
whole
you know,
time.
there was one time we were sitting there, and it's like you said. I looked up, and man, there were like 12 boats coming right up the river, right at us, and they were just like an
Yeah.
invading army coming at you. Like, I don't know where they're all going to go through here.
Yeah, because I've been up there
Jeez.
before. At a fishing tournament, you may have a boat that's doing 40 going straight down through there, and he knows he's fixing to hang a left and kind of go to this cove. Well, some of those bass boats will do 70 and 80.
Yes.
And when he goes to turn, because he's doing 40, he thinks he's okay. And man, as soon as he turns,
you're-
because it's 70, 80 miles per
You
hour.
cover some ground.
It's there quick.
Yeah, and I mean, by the time that guy turns, he don't even realize he's getting smashed.
And I saw something else on Saturday that I didn't like. Is man, most everybody could see that the storms were slow. They were slow moving, approaching, and it's like everybody's going to wait to the last second, and then at the last second they made
It's going to be a drag
it was
race
a
to
drag
the
race,
yeah.
and then trying to get everybody, and then people were out trying to load boats up in a hurry, and you know how that
Oh,
goes
yeah.
after
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was.
So-
we had beach, and I was 8 boats down and running my mouth like I always do. My wife, always says vote Haywood everywhere we go. But anyway, she had to send the kids after me. I was at it was raining. I was just hanging out. I thought we were just going to wait it out. We
Wait
were
it out,
top of
right?
I'd already looked at the radar.
Yeah, if you waited it out, it
Yeah.
got past you.
Yeah.
And the best way to rate it out is on the beach it, or
What about that? Did Pickwick get the hailstorm that you come through?
no.
It didn't. But I'm telling you, you did not want to be on that water in hailstorm.
Yeah,
been
Paris
there.
got
I've been
Paris
there
got a
too.
bad one.
Did they?
They got hail at Paris Landing.
Because I know
Saturday.
years ago when I was a kid, we would go to the White River trout fishing over there. And we got caught in a hailstorm and trying to get back to the dock. I'm going to tell you, that hail, when it hits you,
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yes.
Stings. I mean, it could hurt you bad, too. But I'll tell you.
I just tell people always be thinking, what could possibly go bad. You hate to be the guy that didn't want to have any fun, but I've seen what happens when it
I know-
really goes south.
Yeah, because, I'm the one a lot of time my buddies depend on, hey, what's the weather looking like?
yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, when Pearl and I used to fish all the time, I said, man, it's looking bad over there. And he would say, are we in good shape? And I said, look like we're right on the edge. Well, one day on that edge, it turned. We'd watching the radar the whole time. And boy, that edge turned out, we was right in the center of it.
Well, even the one that caught me in Savannah, I said, it's going north, but there was one little green that popped up below it, and I'm like, I'm concerned about the green. And then the green got bigger green, then the green got yellow, and I'm like, we need to get to the ramp.
And that's kind of what happened the other day.
And then-
they just started out. They didn't really shift to left or
That's right.
east or west. It's just they was in one spot and then they just started growing.
Yeah.
So
And-
our biggest problem down there is up until this year, neither one of us had phone service.
Oh yeah, the phone service right there
Yeah.
in Perry County is
And,
awful.
and we
Awful.
got snuck up on.
Yes.
I mean, it would cloud up, and we thought, well, this isn't so bad. And all of a sudden, there it is.
That's one good thing.
Yeah.
Like
It has snuck up on us a few times, and it did
Like-
it last year.
like if you're Clifton south, you got self service the whole way.
That's correct.
But if you get north of Clifton up there all the way to I-40, it's almost you just got to know the cove to go to,
That's
the
right.
spot to go to.
You're exactly right.
And people try to
Jeez.
just pull in any empty boathouse
Yeah.
they can.
That's right.
There's just not a lot of them up through there.
Yeah, it sure isn't. 'Cause
Yeah.
most of them got
A
out.
lot of times if you're on Pickwick, you can get an empty boathouse.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we got hung up on it last year. Tracy and I were out, just the two of us. We went up and one snuck up on us.
Yeah.
And man, it was coming down. Which we had the top up, but trying to sit there, it was just beating me to death.
Oh, beat you,
So
yeah.
what I did, and there was no boat in sight, and we were 5 miles from our landing, so I could see a beach area. I just kind of aimed boat that way and barely put it in gear. And that may be wrong. I probably shouldn't be telling you that, but I just stood behind the seat where I could be covered, but I could reach the steering wheel if I needed to. That was one way for me to get out of it.
Oh.
It was killing me.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember years ago, back before we had cell phones, getting called out there, and sure enough,
Oh yeah,
bad ones.
yeah. Well, I mean, before phones come along
Yeah.
with radars, I mean, man, I got caught in some bad ones in the Hatchie River where we done took the boat down there and drug over in a slough in a little boat.
Yeah,
And Pearl and I got stuck down there one day, and I tell you what, he was looking at me, and lightning was popping, and of course, and I've been struck by lightning before. And Pirtle said, "Man, why'd I have to be in a boat with you?" He said, "We're gonna die right here." You know.
Speaking of hatch, you know that boy it's dropping pretty good.
Yes,
man.
it is.
It's dropping.
I know it's Mississippi. You know, I mean, I look at it on the TV, and I mean, the river level's going down, and when the Mississippi goes dropping, it sucks the Hatchie dry.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
I was telling them
All right,
by this weekend, it's liable to really be low in some places.
Yeah. All right, let's knock out a big sponsor break. Apex Outdoor Rewards, you know, I mean, they are a premier sponsor, and with turkey season winding down, but I mean, they had the competition going in a lot of states this year, and I'll just go over them. Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. I know they're going to have the Whitetail Challenge. You know, as far as I know, they're going to have it this fall. You know, they reduced the price for the turkey challenge, you know, or the outdoor rewards on that. They dropped it from $125 to $75. But, you know, any information you need to find out, you can go to apexoutdoorrewards.com and look at it. But I know Tennessee season's over. I'm sure some of the ones up north are still going on, but a lot of them, I mean, actually we have, I don't know if it's the longest season in the nation, but I guarantee you, I bet we're in the top 5 probably.
Oh, yeah.
For sure, as long as ours goes over. But Deception Scents, old Parrish, I think he's out in New Mexico working right now. But they have a complete line of scent eliminating products. We got the Prym1 right here, which Walmart carries. And I got a couple calls saying their Walmart has been out now for 2 or 3 weeks, you know. And but it's in almost 2,100 Walmarts in the nation. They're looking to be in a lot more. I know they put them all around. I think a lot of them around the coastlines, anywhere where it's big bodies of water. But I mean, it's some good stuff. The Deception Scent, you know, for the hunters, which, you know, you think about it. I mean, here it is May, but man, the bucks are growing, and velvet season will be here before long.
I always tell people you really need to have your cameras out by about July 1.
That's exactly
And,
right.
If you put them out July 1, check them August 1, and then that gives you a month of having them out, and then you might see if you've got something you want to hunt towards the end of August, and then maybe try to fine tune it to get on that specific buck.
Because, you know, they're not going to do a lot of roaming in those time frames. So.
But I always think July 1, August 1, and then that gives you still gives you about 3 weeks to get on the buck if you got something on camera with them.
Of course, then a lot of times September rolls around and they lose that velvet.
Now you
may never see them again.
I'm talking strictly for the velvet hunt.
Your buddies 2 miles away might be seeing them every day.
Strictly for the velvet hunt.
Hey, but Deception Scent, I mean, Parrish, I know when he is home, he's doing nothing but building custom calls. So many people have ordered the custom calls. A lot of them, you know, is you know, say a grandfather and a grandchild, you know, because, you know, granddad may not be, they ain't going to be around a long time. And they want that keepsake, you know, to put in there. I know you got some, I got some. You know, Parrish made the Tennessee outside call, which we all got one signed, and we give one away. And I mean, and I've had several people ask me, hey, are y'all ever going to do another giveaway on the Tennessee outside pot call? So, but anyway, I mean, they got turkey calls, deer calls, and they are trying to develop a lot of other products. If you watch any New Build Ant shows, you will see Prym1 is one of his sponsors. I mean, he endorses that. You can get them on Amazon, Shields department stores. Hopefully this fall they're going to have most of their products in Walmart.
Yeah.
So
and real quick before you go to the next one.
Okay.
My son, I had put this on Facebook, but my son left my window rolled down on my little hunting.
Yeah.
And man, the mildew smell. I left the window rolled down the next day trying to air it out, and it smelled terrible. And I got that fast gas, and I put it in there overnight.
Yep.
Completely gone.
Oh, I know.
100% gone. It smells like a truck again.
Yeah.
I mean, it smells. There is no foul odor in that vehicle.
Right.
I'm amazed.
Yeah. Well, I know a lady bought some kind of piece of furniture, and it had an odor about it. And I think she sprayed it down with deception scent, wiped it down, and pretty much eliminated all that. And it was brand new, you know, but it had a certain odor that, you know, they didn't like.
That's right.
Hey, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, you can go to www.tmwildlife.org for information, and to be sure to follow TWRA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Threeway Processing, you talked to David lately?
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. So all I know is last I was told, and so we'll put it out there, he's looking for a 5,000 to 6,000 square foot building in either Crockett, Madison, Gibson, or Haywood counties, or 5 to 15 acres to purchase, because I tell you, it's getting close to go time for that.
I can say he needs to get it, because it's going to take a lot of time to get ready for the upcoming deer season.
And I mean, we all realize it, but it's a lot of folks out there that if David Tyndall does not have three-way processing or a deer processing place, it's going to affect the whole hunting season in West Tennessee.
Without a doubt.
I can tell you.
Without a doubt.
Because we all know how they are now. They you know, they're had 2 or 3 days a year. I think Sedona and them increased their capacity.
But even then, Sedona and them are not going to have some of those people that would drive that far.
That's right, because you know, he was in northern Madison County.
Yeah, people that were driving an hour to him, that still would be another hour to them that they probably won't drive that far.
That's right, and I mean, and that'll affect, people may not think about it, that'll affect the overall harvest, because a lot of people has gotten like us. We think ahead of time now. You know, like used to, if you was by yourself and you got to drag it half mile, you still shot it.
That's right.
Man, now it could be a monster, and you ain't got a buddy to come help you drag it 100 yards. You won't shoot.
Now it could be in the backyard. You'd still be like, well, I got to get up early in the morning.
That's right.
I don't feel like messing with one.
That's exactly right. All right, Keith, you want to finish up, brother?
Absolutely. We have Baker Glass Shop. Stop by and see Corey Madden for all your glass needs. Auto, big trucks, heavy machinery. Contact Corey at 731-658-4510. He is located at 321 East Market Street here in Baldwin, Tennessee. Second Amendment Outdoors, your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs: guns, ammo, fishing tackle, clothes, boots, and much more. Mark Austin and his great staff will take good care of you. Contact Mark at 662-594-8687, and that's 2804A Highway 72 West in Corinth, Mississippi. We have Big Hill Pond Boat Sales and Repair. Well, I like to mess that one up good. Sorry, Mr. Kenny. Go see Kenny Fortune for all your boating needs, sales or repair. He also has firearms and fishing tackle. Contact Kenny at 731-645-4384. That's 9282 Highway 57 in Raymer, Tennessee. And did I see something about the Lynnhurst? They're offering something else also?
Yep, they sure are. That's what I was fixing to say.
Okay.
Lynnhurst Family Resort up in Callaway County, Kentucky, up there on the Blood River, you know, in the inlet of Kentucky Lake. On weekends, they have half-price boat rentals.
Half price.
And, you know, that's pretty good for a weekend, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's
because most times you would think they might during the week, because weekend is a high time. So that's
right.
A good deal.
That's
50% off on that. That's a good deal.
But on the Lynnhurst Family Resort, you can stay in one of their cabins, condos, in the hotel, or at one of their campsites. They also have pontoons, jet skis, and golf cart rentals. You can book by calling Dennis Helmuth at 270-436-2345 or 606-341-3399. And I know for the last several shows that if you called the book and you mentioned you saw or heard their ad on this show, you would get is it a 10% discount on your stay? Okay.
Yep, sure is. It sure is.
Lynnhurst thing was weekdays.
Do what?
Weekdays.
Weekdays.
But
I thought it said weekends. My
I
bad.
saw something about a
My
weekend,
bad.
though.
Weekdays. My bad. My
Well,
bad.
either way.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, that's a lot of folks going up there and staying for a whole week.
Yep, they sure are.
We have Prym1 Camo, the ultimate concealment solutions for your outdoorsman and woman that need to blend into their surroundings. Go to Prym1Camo.com and check out all their products. Their 20% off code is HERO1.
You know, and I don't even know if that's any good, because they've been running like a 40 or 50% off sale.
Right.
And that new Prym1 OS, which is short for old school, man, they have sold a ton of that
Have they
stuff.
really?
Yes, they sure have.
Maybe we need to check with them.
Yeah.
Check on that, because that'd be good information to give out.
Right.
Then you have myself, which is Wildlife Addiction Food Plot Services. You can reach me at 731-780-4868 or 731-780-6426. And you know, it's funny, I look at this like I'm reading it and I don't know who it is.
I know. It's you. It's you. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
look, we just offer a full line of from A to Z. We can do anything from planting it, anything you want. We can come out and just spray. We can come out and just fertilize. We can take care of pasture spraying.
Farm consulting.
Farm consultant. Just give us a call. If you can't reach me, call Anthony. We'll take care of you.
Yeah.
And I'm wide open.
Yeah. What about? I know you're probably getting ready to start putting in corn, aren't you?
It'd be next month. Yeah. Well, next
next
month's
month
tomorrow,
is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. It won't be. We won't be long.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or
So-
next day?
The next day.
So
Tomorrow's
basically,
Thursday.
other than one farm right now, I've got all the beans in. But I've got to start spraying this weekend.
Well, you need to get some rain.
I need some rain.
We're getting
It held
dry in
me
a
up.
lot of places.
Yeah, it
There's
got
been a
me
few
behind.
places that's got lucky,
That's right.
but here in the last 2 weeks, there's
Yeah.
been a whole lot of
I noticed
unlucky.
my lake has dropped probably
Yeah.
3 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at my pond today just from the house, and I could tell it was down. But yeah, I mean, it was one thing to be behind because of the rain. I need it.
You gotta have.
I need it now.
That's right.
So,
Sure do.
because the plots, they have to have it. So.
All right, Bubba. You got. Let's go ahead and knock him out before we go to the other stuff.
Do you know when you can put in for the deer quota hunts, Michael Grizzly?
I thought that was in like July and August.
Okay, I think we still have a little time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't-
yeah.
yeah.
We do on that. I'm pretty sure it's sometime in July,
July, okay.
and maybe it ends 1st August or it may end the end of
But
July.
I don't think you can right yet.
No.
Yeah, it's not.
Uh-uh.
This is a good question.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. That's why.
Of course, there's something I want to. If someone is kayaking or canoeing on private creeks or branches in Tennessee, and they get out to push it due to low water levels, is it trespassing on private property? Several have told me that they are perfectly legal to get out if they need to swim in the water. Bill Ramsey. Well, Bill, right off the get-go, when you said private creeks, you know, that's where we're going to get into an issue if it is private creek or is it public water. So if it's navigable,
Yeah.
and you know, all our rules on navigable water has to do with commercial. It doesn't have to do with recreation. So we have a lot of water that you can go up it if there's water level, a certain level. But you cannot get on the water. But you can stay in the main channel, but it has to be navigable water. So like,
You mean you can't get out on the ground?
well, you can, like, let's just say, like navigable water would be Hatchet
Yeah.
or the Mississippi or something. If the water got so low, but you're still in the main
Channel of it.
channel, you could get on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
But if it's non-navigable water year-round, let's just say a creek,
All right. Say Spring Creek.
Spring Creek, and then you get out, then that could be on private property.
That could be private.
Private property.
But you
that's
can
yes and
legally
no.
because I mean I know people that's put in like at the old Dragon Bridge on Sane Road.
Yes.
And or even Lake Hardeman. I know
Yeah.
Chris and Bub put in at Lake Hardeman out there close to Leon's place. Floated to on Sane Road, of course. Took them all day and hundreds of cottonmouths. But basically, every time they
that's-
got out to move it, they were on private ground.
Yeah, and so that's almost a politician answer because it sort of depends.
Yeah, it
Depends-
does.
It depends on the waterway, and depends on. But under no circumstance can you get outside of the main channel, even with flooded water.
Yeah.
Then you're trespassing on private land.
And so still, I mean,
Which is usually more of an issue in duck season.
yes,
With,
yeah.
with
Yeah, because
water.
a lot of people during duck season, and I know you got slammed with it the first 2 weeks
Yes,
this year.
yes.
But just because the river's up,
you
that
cannot-
don't mean you can carry your boat out there to where that backwater ends. Because
Yeah.
once you get out of that main river channel, if
channel.
you don't have permission,
Yeah.
you're trespassing.
trespassing. And even we run into issues with people tying up to trees that are from outside the main river
Right.
channel, which is private property.
That's right. Because, if you're duck hunting and you throw your decoys out there, that anchor is hitting their ground, but you're not supposed to even have your boat out there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of gray areas, and
well, I know it was a case over, the Ghost River down there, or Wolf River, that kind of set the precedence for that.
Some of that bobby pigeon.
Yes, that's right.
Ground down there.
And I mean, because it's just a big deal, but like you said, it's mostly during duck season.
It's a recurring issue. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah. Because if that landowner duck hunts, he's going to be pissed.
Yeah. But we do have some issues with kayakers and canoers. Most of it seems to be more in the middle and East Tennessee instead of West Tennessee.
Yeah. But it's growing here.
We're growing here. Yeah. It started out with a few people on the Wolf, and now the Hatchie is really starting to take a lot of.
Well, I know the city of Bolivar's already had one event on the Hatchie already.
Yeah. So.
And then they canceled one and had one, I believe.
The thing about in West Tennessee, when we start talking about a lot of our rivers in West Tennessee, man, it can vary so much on the water level.
Right.
It seems like now. Used to,
quickly.
When I was a kid, it seemed like the Hatchie River, it didn't rise and fall as fast.
It's just more steady.
And now it's like it's either too high, or it's too low.
Well, we were just talking, it is dropping so much. I don't know what this weekend's going to bring by the time this weekend gets here.
I know. And the big tournament's coming up, this weekend.
Big tournament to go to another big boating thing up in Northwest Tennessee. So.
Yep. And the way the temperature's got, pretty much all the Tennessee waterways is going to get slammed, for the rest of the year.
And, another thing we was talking about, these ponds are really starting to take a beating, especially if it's ponds that most of it's runoff.
Yep.
That's exactly.
They're fixing getting
in a bad way.
Way quickly.
Mine's fairly deep, but I depend on the rain and the runoff from the edge of my pasture.
Yeah.
And I don't have any kind of aeration system out there to keep them from turning over or help.
Yeah. Well, right now it's not really a turnover time, but the oxygen level can get low. But most of your turnovers happen in the fall.
Yeah.
You can have them in the spring.
We could have low oxygen just
that's what I say.
If we have reduced water.
Yeah, when it gets hot and it gets low,
we could stand some
oxygen
rain
level
across West Tennessee.
The
pop-ups, everybody be grateful if you got one, but there's a lot of people that don't get them.
That's right. Yep. And your neighbor does and you don't.
Yeah.
All right, let's knock out this will be the final turkey harvest report pretty much.
And I'm not one to say we told you so, but we predicted this. I thought it was actually going to be a little more kill. I was a little low on what I thought it was
That's
going
right.
to be.
Yep.
But we figured it would be
You want to start out, Bubba, with just the totals from the state?
Yeah. Totals from the state. This year we killed 31,895 birds. Last year we killed 29,993. So we're up 1,902, or up 6% from this time last year. Our Jake harvest, 3,308 birds. Last year, 4,597. So we're down 1,289. So we're down a substantial 28% on our Jake harvest.
And what's your prediction for that next year, the Jake harvest?
As goes the Jake harvest this year, goes the harvest next year.
That's exactly right.
Next year, we're not going to have the number of 2-year-old longbeards on the landscape.
Yep.
It's just not going to be out there. We're going to be substantially reduced next year in our harvest. I would say somewhere between 5 and 15% would be my guess.
That's the overall harvest.
Overall harvest.
Yeah, because we know when a reduction of the 2-year-old birds on the landscape, that's going to translate into the overall harvest.
And I don't know exactly what percent of our harvest is 2-year-old birds, but it's high.
Yeah,
it's probably 90%, if not higher.
I know it was a bunch because I know the first 2 weeks this year, a lot of people you could see them post. Have a good bird, but to me, if it's an adult bird, I don't care if it's got 3/4 inch spurs or not.
Right.
If it's got a full fan, and
full fan, pull the trigger.
That's exact, and that's what the legal guidelines too. You can kill a Jake one, but and then the bearded hens, which. Personally, I'm glad to see that number go down. It was 183 last year, 249. Down 66, or it's kind of notice the Jake harvest and the bearded hen harvest, right? In the upper 20%, being down like that.
So I'm just, Of course, it'd be interesting to see how our. I hadn't seen any little posts on the land.
Well,
I'm sure
I have
there's
seen some on
out there.
Facebook.
That's what I've seen.
On
Just
Facebook, but I've
Yeah.
not seen.
I haven't seen. Now I know Tim Rixey. He called me today. They saw some up at his place at Pine Top.
Oh, did they?
yesterday. Yes. Said they pulled up in his clover field on the Polaris, and the guy said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And he said a hen run out from basically right under their side by side. So then they started seeing poults, and when the guy with him reached down and caught one because the grass was high.
Yeah.
And see, and
If
that's
you
bad.
can-
We talk about it all the time.
If you can catch a poult with your hand, don't think a cow, any predator can catch it.
That's right. And that's what we
that's-
talked about.
that-
Every ground that's got turkeys, you need kind of some spots and basically almost yard clean.
Almost yard clean for about those first 10 to 14 days.
Yep, that's right.
Then after that, they're a different level. I was talking about poult habitat, and it's not all inclusive. And the best way to have good poult habitat is have a wide diversity of habitat.
Yep.
And from yard to dirt to tall grass, a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
So they can search out and get where they need to be.
yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, we're going to go over the top 10, and I tell you what, the top 10 hasn't really changed a whole lot
No.
since the start of the season. Some of them's kind of shuffled, but I'll start out with number 10, Robertson County, 577. They're down 41 birds, or down 7%. Sumner County, 604. They're actually up 56 birds, or 10%. Hickman County, 607 birds. And out of all that I looked at, that's the biggest increase in Hickman County in the whole state.
That's pretty good.
They're
good
up
job.
153, or up 34%. I don't know what's going on in Hickman County, but that, like I say, that is a good jump. Giles County, of course, I know what happened. Giles County from last year.
It was the mob unit.
It was a mob.
mob
Yeah,
unit
no,
and
well, the Middle Tennessee unit,
South Middle Tennessee unit together.
because their season was cut
Yep.
2 weeks shorter than everybody else. So it kind of reflects it right here. 629 birds last year, 501, so it's up 128, or 26%. Wilson County, 638, they're down 59 from last year, or 8%.
Rounding out the top 5, we're coming in with Rutherford County coming in at 643, down 68 from this time last year, so they're down 10%. Number 4, Montgomery County coming in at 653. Last year, 669, so they're also down 16 birds, or 2%. Dixon jumping up to 753. They're also down 31 birds, so they're down 4%. Number 2, Greene County jumping up way high to 893 birds, up 54 from this time last year, so up 6%. And our number 1 county is Maury County, 1,043 birds, but they're actually down 44
That's
from
right.
this time last year, so they're down 4%. Anything jumping out at you?
Well,
those top
I mean,
10?
yeah, it does. Number 1, it's not anything from West Tennessee in there.
Not
that-
anything.
that's the first thing. But I do know that Weekly and Henry, they would have probably made the top 15.
Yeah.
When I did this, but the other thing is just, you can tell it wasn't a big jump from overall harvest from last year, because you can, it's about half pluses and half minuses in the top 10.
It seemed like if we'd have gone back 15, 20 years ago, that West Tennessee would have been in there. But it just seems like in today's world that landscape of that Middle and East Tennessee is just better suited for turkeys than the West Tennessee agriculture.
Yeah. But that's kind of the same way with deer.
Yeah.
West Tennessee,
It's like
30 years ago.
we started out with a bang, but as agriculture has gotten bigger, and it just doesn't seem to have helped our wildlife.
Whereas everything in West
strip.
Tennessee is kind of on the downhill slide.
Yeah.
Middle and East Tennessee they're still ramping up. And truly, I don't think in Middle and East Tennessee, I don't think the holding capacity has been met. And I think that's why.
You might be right.
That's why it's still on.
Seems like once it meets, they'll level out for a while, then they'll start to.
And that's when you can really see what you got.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing the ebb and flows of it,
Yeah.
you basically know your holding capacity for that county is it's pretty much, you could do a median, average right there.
The thing that jumps out at me on some of these counties are very, very urban and not very rural. You look at Rutherford and Wilson County.
That's right.
That's a lot of developed
Yeah,
areas.
you got Wilson,
Yeah.
Mount Juliet and Lebanon, that's where the
Rutherford's
Davidson
the
County,
same
flight
way.
kind of is, and it's
Yeah,
going
so-
that way.
So, it just, sometimes those turkeys can do good in those type of
Yep.
habitats.
Yep, sure can. Hey, I also I checked on the WMAs because, like I say, a lot of people, they asked me, and said, "Hey, you keep up with the numbers. What's a good WMA to apply for next year?" And this kind of surprised me. It was only 5 birds different in all the WMAs from last year to this year. 2,191 last year, 2,196. So it's really only down 5 birds, or 0.2%. The Jake harvest, 269 last year, 477. It's not quite as drastic as the others, but there you still see the trend where the Jake harvest was down on statewide, and the same way. Same way with bearded hens, 6 last year, 18 this year, down 12 or 67%. So it's kind of odd how they kind of correlate with each other, right there. And so I looked up, I just picked out the top 5 WMAs if anybody's wanting to, want to know a good one to sign up for. But North Cumberland WMA, they took 146 birds. Last year, 189, so they're down 43. South Cherokee WMA, 118 birds. Last year, 127, down 9. Yanali, 97 this year, 121 last year, down 24. Percy Priest, 73. Last year, 103, down 30. And the Arnold Engineer Development Center is, or AEDC, 63 birds. Last year, 92, down 29. So, the top 5 of them, they're all negative from last year.
And a lot of, even our wildlife management areas here in West Tennessee, a lot of those, whether it's Chickasaw, Natchez Trace, or now Wolf River, they're all going to be drought. And I think the future will probably have a whole lot more drought hunts instead of just open hunts.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see that changing.
I didn't look at Chickasaw when I did this because they're no. But the last time I did look, which I think was 2 weeks ago, they pretty much killed 4 right off the bat. That's Chickasaw State Park, not the Chickasaw down by the Mississippi River.
Right.
And they had taken 4 birds in all those hunts.
Yeah,
Really?
and that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
That got drought.
Yeah.
I don't know what Natchez Trace was, but I don't think they were.
Yeah. Last time I looked at Natchez Trace, it seemed like, if I can remember right, they were at 18.
No, that's more than I
Yeah.
thought they were. And of course, the Wolf River is going to be in that drought hunt next year.
So, but and a lot of people that may not know, that's just tuning in, TWRA, the commission, they set the seasons now when they do for 2 years. A lot of people is thinking it might be some changes come about because this is only the first year for the new season, especially for the turkeys last season, and of course ended in January for the deer. But this fall and next spring, as of right now, everything is still the same.
Yeah.
Only thing changing will be the incidental calendar dates from 2023 to 2024.
And once again, on our prediction, Anthony and our agreement, next year's harvest is going to be reduced. They're just not going to have the number of 2-year-old longbeards on the landscape.
Yeah.
They're just not going to be out there.
And with the season timing going to be about the same,
Same.
I would be surprised if we break 30,000 next year.
Yeah, we won't.
So,
And I hope a lot of times when I say stuff, I'm like,
yeah, I hope we're wrong.
I hope
too.
we're wrong, but I'm just scared that, that is consistent year after year. When you look at that Jake harvest, you know what next year's going to be bringing.
And I was thinking about this the other day. You remember when we talked about the average number of poults per hen in 1985 on the August report?
Yeah,
that was in August. It was
like 7.
No,
something,
yeah, it was 7.8. I think
I
it
knew
was.
6 or 7.
And so, well, you think back in 1985 versus now, just our weather changes, because I know we've all seen it.
Yeah,
You know,
habitat change.
Habitat changes,
Yeah.
land use changes.
But the thing about that gets me
Herbicide
though
changes.
is now it's like we either don't get no rain or we get the storm flash floods, and that is the worst for turkey poults. Back in the mid '80s, you would get a few heavy storms, but remember the days where it might just drizzle rain or light rain for 2 or 3 days in a row?
That's it. Yeah.
You don't get that no more around here.
That was a good range. I think
What you got, Jansen?
A last minute question.
Okay.
Debbie Tucker Frost, what can I do to help the turkeys out that live on my property? My turkeys are looking at turkeys only, not for shooting. We love them. But what can they do on their property to help them flourish?
I don't know how many acres they got, but Bubba, you can kind of give
Well, let's go over some of the basics. One, you can remove some of the predators from the landscape, especially
do some trapping, Debbie.
have somebody do some trapping. Two, now this is some more advanced stuff. Start trying to help provide that poult habitat, variety, diversity of habitat on your landscape for the poults. Because if we can get those poults to a month old, we are so much better off.
But before that, you got to have nesting habitat.
Yeah, and then nesting habitat.
Yeah.
And then, once again, a diversity of habitat. We don't want a block of mature woods. We don't want a big agriculture. We don't want an impenetrable thicket. We want a little bit of it all interspersed as much as we can.
Yeah. And the bad thing, too, Debbie, since we're in Unit CWD, you're not supposed to feed any time during the year. You can feed the Tweety birds, but the way the rule says.
And really on those poults, we need bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they was talking about a study on predation of turkeys at feeders.
Oh yeah. We saw the picture I showed you last week.
That what you think might be good for them, don't think bobcats don't figure
That's
out.
right. Bobcats around a feeder is an apex predator
And
to the max.
They've got it figured out.
Yeah, they would. Especially if you got your feeder. Keith, like where you got your camera set up here at your phone. Say if you had a feeder right there, those bobcats. Literally, I've seen pictures where they're just like the leopards jumping out of big trees in Africa.
Yeah.
And a turkey as a whole, because I've killed a ton of turkeys, out of deer houses. They're not normally looking up.
In general, they don't.
Right.
So when that bobcat comes flying out of that tree, it's game over.
Game over.
Game over.
Checked out. All right, that's about it. Keith, you got any final thing?
No. Hey, pretty weekend coming up. Probably going to be a lot of boats in the water. Be safe.
Yeah, that's right. Bubba?
One other thing, a drug-free, alcohol-free boat is the safest boat you can be in.
Yeah, that's right. And if you see somebody doing something dangerous, you need to let somebody know. Because you hate to find out about it later. Yeah, I saw that boat acting a fool. I know you don't want to snitch and tell on nobody, but you kind of want some.
If you see a car driving down the road that's bobbing, weaving, and
I do it every time. I'll even follow them till the cops get to it. I'll do it. It's just habit,
Same process.
Yep. All right, that's all I got. Hey, we appreciate all of our viewers and sponsors, and we will see y'all right back here next week for another Tennessee Outside. Thanks.